Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, dear students. The Bolochistan Mystery. The land of the pure has had a great history. It saw the tragic episode of the dismemberment of the country. However, unfortunately, we, the Pakistani nation, have not learned any lesson from this national tragedy. Our rulers, both civilian governments and the civilian administration, have had the same authoritarian attitude towards Balochistan as they had towards the then East Pakistan, today's Balochistan. Indeed, there are centrifugal forces active in the province, but it is the state itself which has time and again provided opportunities the enemies have taken advantage of. This attitude and apathy of the center towards the suffering of Baloch have only crystallized further the differences. Had one have a bird's eye view of the history, one would understand why Balochistan is a simmering volcano today. At the time of Pakistan independence, Balochistan consisted of four princely states: Kalat, Lasbela, Haran, and Makran under the British Raj, with Kalat being the largest one. Like all other princely states of the Indian subcontinent, Balochistan was also given three options: to join India, to join Pakistan, or independence. The Khan of Kalat and tribal elders were reluctant to accede to Pakistan but ready to concede on defense, foreign affairs, and communication. However, on the order of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Balochistan was annexed to Pakistan. On 28 March 1948, the Khan of Kalat was forced, as some critics claim, to sign the instruments of association with Pakistan with Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. However, it was agreed in this agreement that, as described in Pakistan Resolution 1940, the province will have autonomy over all its affairs except defense, external affairs, and communication, which would be dealt with by the federal government. Then in 1954, the government merged all the four provinces of the then West Pakistan into one unit to establish parity between the two wings of Pakistan. Consequently, the Baloch, like the people of all other provinces, protested against this scheme as it would create the Baloch identity crisis under the influence of its population. Thus, aftermath of the scheme, violence erupted in 1960, and the then President of Pakistan, General Muhammad Ayub Khan, to settle the matter, deploy army troops there. In 1972, the newly elected government of Balochistan announced that by replacing non-local with the locals, it would indigenize the administration of the province to exercise the provincial autonomy. Along with this move, the government also accused Islamabad for not investing in industrial development in the province and demanded more provincial autonomy. The moves irritated the central government led by the Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Pakistan People's Party and the elite of the country feared that these moves would deprive them of authority. Consequently, Bhutto disposed the non-PP elected government of Balochistan and jailed them many of its leaders. Separate elements in the province were trying to dismember the country, as evidenced by large clashes of arms and ammunitions which were recovered from the house of Iraqi military attaché. Resultantly, protests erupted in the province against this action of the federal government. Thus, instead of engaging the dissentment in political dialogue, Bhutto, though admirer of democracy but itself an authoritarian, sent over 80,000 troops to crush the rebellion, thus favoring once again the use of force than democratic values. The exploitation of resources has also made the Baloch resentful. Balochistan, being rich in natural resources like gas, copper, gold, and other reserves, has been exploited over the years, but it has in turn never gotten its due share in revenue generated from its own resources. Natural gas, for instance, was discovered in 1952 near Sui, a small town in Dera Bugti district. This gas had reached Rawalpindi and Multan by 1964, but never to its own town of Sui, which harbored Pakistan's biggest natural gas field until 1990s. And that too was only made possible when the paramilitary camps were established there by the federal government. Even the provincial capital Quetta got gas connections in 1970, while it had reached Lahore and Karachi by 1955. Regrettably, even today, out of the 34 districts of Balochistan, only 14 have access to natural gas, let alone mentioning across access to other basic amenities. 85% population has no access to safe drinking water. Around 75% do not have access to electricity. 63% are below the poverty line, and 70% children do not have access to education. This scenario shows that unfortunately the rulers are not interested in Balochistan but its land for its natural resources and strategic locations. As they have minimal representation in the center, Baloch, as they have been consistently demanding an increase in their representation in central bureaucracy and federal government bodies. In 2005, there was not even a single Baloch among Pakistan's ambassadors. Ladies and gentlemen, dear students, Baloch have genuine grievances. However, Islamabad unfortunately has had kept its iron curtain policy towards them. Our rulers have sadly never heeded to the sufferings and legal demands of the Baloch due to its smaller population. Politicians have always been concentrating on other provinces, especially in Punjab, which grants them more seats to make their way to the Treasury bench to form the government. Such attitude has alienated our Baloch brothers in their own country and has made ways for the centrifugal forces in the province. The destructive elements exploit this segment of the society to inflict collateral damage to this beloved country of ours. Indeed, the enemy is exploiting the current situation in Balochistan, but the state itself is responsible for creating such conditions which enemies are out to fake advantages of external forces can only build on local fissures and take advantages of conditions created domestically. Being the victim of historical amnesia, we have forgotten the East Pakistan. Despite the fact that political engagement and negotiation will earn the state the trust of the aggrieved Baloch people, the state is reluctant to engage politically of the fear that softened approach towards insurgents would be interpreted as weaken on the part of the state. However, the hard security engagement builds up anger in communities, especially the youth. Being half-hearted towards the political solution. Even our democratic leaders have always viewed Balochistan from security prisms. Recently, the Baloch leader Akhtar Jan Mengal, the chairman of Balochistan National Party, withdrew from the PTI coalition. He demanded 6 points formula signed with the party in 2018. These 6 points include recovery of missing person, implementation of National Action Plan, implementation of 6% quota for Balochistan in the federal government, immediate withdrawal of the Afghan refugees, and construction of dams in the province to resolve the acute water crisis. When the center turns a deaf ear to such legal and constitutional demand, it further alienates the already aggrieved Baloch. Remedially, to pacify the Balochistan's grievances and to resolve its decades-old issues, the state should remove the grievances and reservations of the Baloch people and incorporate them in CPAC, which may prove a game changer for the Baloch people too, to bring peace to their province. Long-term solution to the violence is to politically engage the Baloch population and restart a reconciliation dialogue with the separatist leaders in order to bring them back to the political mainstream in a peaceful manner. It will only happen if the state is willing to take bold steps and shuns its myopic visions.